Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
All right, welcome to this week's edition. Actually, one of the last shows of 2023. This week's edition of Stay Off My Lawn podcast is December 19th, 2023, and it's episode 48. And we want to tell you Merry Christmas.
And a Merry Christmas to everybody from me. And
yes,
Steve, you can say it.
We got you. Yes, you'll have next week off. I told you we're not doing a show next week. It's going to be okay. Gosh, you're just never happy, are you? You know. Even if Rogan does call, why don't you just take him up on it? See what he has to say.
It's not going to hurt our feelings a whole lot.
Listen to the offer anyway. It couldn't hurt. Well,
all right, go back in your booth. Turn the mic off. We're on now.
Who says $10 an hour doesn't pay for anything? I mean, it's an hour a week. Come on now.
Hey, I remembered to turn on the timer this time. Get off my case.
Oh, that's a good thing. I appreciate that myself. Oh, man. So how was your weekend?
Oh, busier than a bug on a hot griddle. That's for you Southern folks. You understand that.
I've not heard that one before, but I like it.
You haven't heard it?
No.
Good gravy. I've heard that one. Anyway, my oldest granddaughter graduated from Boise State University, and then she was not going to walk for the graduation ceremony. Myself, the wife, and our youngest daughter, who, when you're a kid, sometimes having an aunt that's nice, everybody has that aunt that you get to talk to. Well, that's our youngest daughter to her. So we all convinced her. And so she went ahead and registered and all set up. And we all went and supported her and whistled big when it was her turn to go through, with like 450, 500 people down there going through the graduation ceremony. And it was really nice. They had it all done in an hour and a half.
Oh, that
was it.
500 kids? That's incredible.
Yeah. Oh, they had two people saying their names. They had their names on a piece of paper. You handed it to them. They said it. Boom, boom, boom. If it's something unusual, they said to say it to them. And they had them on each side. So they had a big group of chairs and stuff on one side of essentially it's the gym, it's the arena. And then on the other side, and they had two columns go down. One column went to the left, one went to the right. The guy on the left would read their name. As soon as he was done, the guy on the right did. And it was just boom, 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 boom. And they were done.
I knew a girl in high school where her eyes were like that. One went to the left, one went to the right. But they always preface those graduation ceremonies. Don't cheer when you hear your kid's name. Wait until the end, and then everybody cheer. Nobody ever listens. So apparently they did this time.
You couldn't have noisemakers. Nobody said you can't whistle, and I got a pretty good whistler. So
yeah, there you go. That's awesome.
So it was a lot of fun, especially the youngest daughter. I mean, we don't get to see our girls very often because they're the only way they can get farther apart is if somebody gets in a boat, because one's in Virginia Beach and the other one's in San Diego. So
yeah, you don't get unless the one in Virginia moves to Maine. Yeah, I think that's about as far apart as you can get.
Yeah. So it was really nice to see her. We had a good time. The granddaughter had some folks over after the ceremony, and it was went really well. It was a lot of fun. It was just wonderful to see everybody and have a good time. Yeah. And yesterday was what, Monday? Yeah, Sunday. I was a slug. The wife said, I don't blame you, because driving home after the graduation function, it wasn't a lot of drinking. It was just eating and BSing. Yeah. But we had freezing fog driving home for an hour.
And that's just stressful, and that makes you tired.
It is. Yeah. You could only see, what did I count? like 3 stripes in front of the car.
Oh boy. Yeah,
That's it. That's all the more and I had the fog lights on.
And then the
So
whole
by the
freezing
time I got
part
home,
is another one. Yeah, it's like,
yeah, it would be, and then it wasn't. I'm always listening to the tires. All of a sudden I can hear water. Okay, we're good for a bit. Now I'm not hearing water anymore. So
yeah.
this ain't good.
So we're skating now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's back off a bit. But yeah, Sunday I was, as the wife calls it, growing mushrooms in your chair again, are you? I just hang out there. She wasn't much better. The two of us was like, yeah, football's on. I watched most of one game through my eyelids.
Well, take a 3 or 4 naps a day. I mean, sometimes that's what's required. So, I mean,
But it's time for my periods again. What?
I think this is the first. We were just talking before we started recording that this is one of the few times that we've actually had the same temperature. It's 33 degrees this morning in Idaho, and is 33 degrees here in Northwest Georgia. So it's like that rarely happens. He's either 112 and we're 86, or he's 4 below and we're 33 again. So
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
People go, don't you get tired of the winter? Doesn't it? I'm going, no, because I thought it was this way everywhere. When you're a kid, you look and the calendar says, hey, it's fall. The leaves are turning and they fall down. And I did that yesterday, raked leaves for a while.
Boy. Yeah.
Finally, the last ones came off. And so then when about time you're done with winter, it's starting to get springtime. It's warming up. It's only about 3 months of crap, and then it starts warming up. It's springtime. It's beautiful. The leaves are popping out. Yay. And then summer comes and fries your lips off. And about time you're sick and tired of the heat, it starts cooling down because it's fall, because that's what the calendar says. And the leaves are falling, and then you're back into winter. It's just, I thought it was that way everywhere. That's what the calendar says, so it must be. Nope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, around here we get very similar. It's just not as extreme. I mean, you have the extreme heat and the extreme cold compared to us. We are actually very moderate. I mean, we don't. I mean, the lowest temperature we were in the 20s last night, but that's about average for the wintertime around here. We don't have a lot of below freezing, but we do get that way because we're kind of in the mountains. And then in the summer, we've had some summers and we haven't even hit 90 degrees. I mean, it just stays, it's pretty moderate. Once in a while, we'll get over 100, but it doesn't happen. It happens maybe once every 10 years. It's not very often at all. So it's like Florida. Florida doesn't hardly ever get over 100 down there either. I think a lot of it is because humidity in the air is just so dense that it doesn't allow the temperature to get that high. So I don't know.
Yes, and this weather forecast has been brought to you by Spiney's Old Fashioned Diner. Yes. Like, Joe, guys, should we be whittling while we're... Don't forget, this is Stay Off My Lawn. We're on a porch and rocking chairs talking to you about stuff. So,
featuring Richard Durrington's potted meat products. But by the way, we are not going to have a show next. Well, we will have a show next week, but it's not going to be political in nature. We've got some really neat things in store for you next week. We've got something special from Richard. We've got something special I ripped off of YouTube, and then the play, My Friend Irma. You want to tell them a little bit about
radio
that?
show, about 30 minutes. It's completely done just like an old-fashioned radio show. There's some canned laughter. It's just a cute story. And we had some wonderful other voiceover folks who joined in, and some of us had more than one part because, I don't know, people tried out.
You had 3 or 4.
Every time I do one of these, people go, when are we going to do another one? When are we going to do another one? They always seem to have a good time doing them. Yes. It's got sound effects. It's got the whole shooting match, just like if you were listening to it on the radio. And it's a wonderful Christmas story, and some terrific actors. Al and our announcer is in the booth next to me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, though. I mean, it didn't really, I mean, there are people in there that I had never met before, but it's like, we all kind of gelled together. It's like we all had this one, and Richard was the director, and he really was, it was sort of like, herding cats at one point, but it was, but it was great. Everybody kind of knew that we had to work together, and we did it all live. There were a couple of things we had to record and post because Zoom didn't like us. But for the most part, it was all live. We did 3 recordings of it, and the last one is the one we sent out, and it turned out fantastic, and everybody was great. And hopefully you'll enjoy that next week. We're going to have that for you. Like Richard said, it's 30 minutes, but it's a fun. My friend Irma was a radio show back in the 40s. Is that correct? Was it the 40s?
Yeah, it was in the 50s. This was a script from a 1950, literally 1950 Christmas.
Yeah.
So, and they did a little TV. I don't think it lasted maybe 1 or 2. A lot of the radio shows they tried to do as TV, and not very many of them took. Some did, like Ozzie and Harriet were 14 years on the radio, and then they were another 14 years on TV. So there's not, that was the exception to the rule. Most of them were maybe at 2 years at best.
It is kind of weird. Because some of them, I like radio shows. I think the theater of the mind is just, and maybe it's just our age or whatever, but I just like being able to imagine, sort of like when we were kids, you imagined what the DJ looked like or whatever. And it's like a lot of times when you saw him, he was this fat pig that that you wouldn't give 2 cents to if he was, begging on the corner. But it's like, but he had that. It was about the personality. It was about the delivery and everything. And it was just, you closed your mind and it's, I don't know, or you closed your eyes and your mind took over. And I think that's the beauty of what radio, and that's what we're missing today. I miss it a lot. So,
yeah, if you don't have it, I will send you the video of it later today so you can post it on YouTube, and you might be able to post it on, I don't know, will it take a 30-minute video on Instagram?
We can give it a try.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, it'll be on YouTube, Rumble, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be there. And the folks that did the video editing actually had pictures of all of us, and he took the time. That had to be just ungodly time consuming. Every time whoever it was that was speaking, it's their face that pops up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting, especially when you see that there's 2-3 of us that have like 2 or 3 parts.
Yeah, you had 3 parts. I had 2, and then you had 4 parts, didn't you?
No, I only had 3.
Weren't you the cop on the bridge too at one point?
Did Mo only have 2 this time? Maybe she only had 2.
I think she had 2.
No, I did a 3rd one. I didn't want to do a 3rd one. I was hoping to have more people, but because your voice is very distinctive, and the other 2 guys that are in the show, their voices they couldn't be something else if they
right, exactly.
just didn't work out. It's like, okay, I guess I get to do that too. But I have very good Professor.
I was going to say,
was nice voice.
You've got the accents and everything down. It was perfect. So I was like, I wasn't going to try that. You do that. I can't even do a good Santa voice. If you want to hear me try to do a Santa voice, go see our promo. It's on YouTube and it's on Instagram. It was awful, but it's hey, we had a good time. That's all that matters. Hey, we always like to start off, since we're still doing politics this week, we always like to start off with some wisdom from Uncle Joe. And of course, he just never disappoints.
It's Uncle Joe's Wisdom of the Week.
At here at NIH to get these brilliant scientists to go out and find cures, find answers to drug problems, to drugs, with the use of drugs for health problems.
Did you get all that? I took notes, so I think I'm going to study that later.
I'm going to have to cheat off your paper because I ain't got a clue in hell.
Jeez. I mean, these are videos that go out there. Everybody in the world sees this stuff. It's just so sad. Speaking of the White House, though, have you seen that Nutcracker video thing that they put together?
God, that is the most horrific. What in the hell? There's tacky, and then that was in the White House. Yeah. That was even tackier than tacky.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about all the different things that they brought into that White House. It was just kind of like that one guy that stole the luggage, and the one guy that was making TikTok videos with the long fingernails. And it's like, why in the world? And I have to probably blame Jill. I think this has got to be her baby, because she's the one who's drawing all these people in. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not her, but it seems like she likes this kind of stuff, and she thinks everybody likes it, and we don't. So, I did read,
mean,
though, that this
if they would have been in outfits maybe that were like toy soldiers and whatever else, that might have been kind of cute. But that ain't what it was. It
No.
was a clown show and tacky as hell.
It was just weird.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
not
not a big fan of weird. It was a New York dance company called Dorn's Dance, and on their website they have links to defund the police movements in New York, San Diego, and Minneapolis. They also encouraged their site visitors to get involved with prison abolition work. Prison abolition. That's the way they put it on there, because prisons are a terrible racist thing. And they also promote the now discredited 1619 Project, which is, very, very interesting.
That should have died a horrible death, and it pretty much has. People went, no, that's not right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're up against a break. So when we come back, we're going to talk about why meat is so triggering to some people. And a former FBI counterintelligence chief is going to jail. Well, let's talk about that because that's pretty fun. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Christmas time, it is Christmas time.
Ho, ho, ho! Just face it, no matter how hard you try, your Christmas lights won't look as good as the neighbors. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Born from the tragedy of 9/11, the Tuttle to Towers Foundation carries out its mission to do good by providing mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children, and by building specially adapted smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. They are also committed to eradicating veteran homelessness and helping America to never forget September 11th, 2001. And according to Charity Navigator, 95 cents out of every dollar donated goes directly to these programs. $11 a month is all they ask for to help these real-life American heroes. Visit T2T.org to find out more. That's T2T.org. Welcome back to segment 2 of Stay Off My Lawn. We've talked quite a bit about the testosterone levels in Congress, especially dipping badly lately. For example, I don't even want to play this. Here's a Gen Z guy who's all upset about an emoji.
Yes, and those emojis honestly should be illegal. I've been emailing Apple every single day to remove the meat emojis from the iPhones, and they're not doing it. I don't know why they're not doing it. I've been emailing them every single day to stop putting the meat emojis in the phones. Like, it should be illegal. It's offensive to me, and it's triggering to people like me who are vegan. It is so triggering, and I don't know why they don't take them off the iPhone because they're so triggering. They're so triggering.
Oh, God. Sorry, I can't even listen to just what in the hell they have to have a safe space to get their feelings back. It's like, get over it and move on. Jeez.
But why are things so triggering? I don't understand. What is different about people today, men especially today, that is like, it's like when they were born, all the testosterone just got sucked out of their system through the birth canal or something. I don't understand what happened.
At his age, we had our people that were our fathers and grandfathers' age were storming Omaha
Normandy,
Beach for
yes.
crying out loud. And you had guys that were in charge of a crew that were the old guys were 24 years old that were captains and lieutenants. It's like, what the hell happened?
The average age of the soldier in Vietnam, especially, I think it's in that song, 19 was 19. So I mean, the average. This included the old sarges and the colonels and everything. You average all that out. I mean, people were going over there at 17 years old, facing probably, especially if you talk about World War II or Normandy and Omaha Beach. It's like they were facing pretty much certain death and they went, and because their country called on them, and some of them were there not of their own volition. But men just are not the same. They're just not the same.
Well, and especially if you're a vegan, by the way.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I just read this recently that soy has a lot of estrogen in it.
Yes, it does.
Naturally.
Yes, it does. So, I mean,
And
if you're
is that show when you're a vegan, he kind of proved the point.
Exactly. So if you're a health conscious guy, especially, and you want to get protein bars or whatever, just look at what kind of protein is in it, because a lot of times it's soy, and soy will work against whatever you want to do. But I read this, and we talked about this too, is like testosterone levels have dropped in the past 50 years, or since the 70s, I guess it's 50 years. And it's dropped 50%. So it's like on average now, it drops by 1% a year for all men. I don't know whether this is just in America or not, but I mean, so if that's the case, how long before
the crap that they put in our food, that's some of if you're not eating your own stuff, when I grow my own beef, I'm not getting it from somebody else that has nothing in it. They eat the grass and that's it, people.
How long before though that we're unable to reproduce? I mean,
I've thought of that one too.
I just don't know.
Me, I quit a long time ago.
Well, yeah, I don't want to do that either. But I mean, eventually the human race is going to have to continue to reproduce.
Yeah,
somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
I wonder. Yeah,
what's the saying on that? Is if you put 100 trans on an island, you would in 100 years you would find 100 bones,
dead bodies,
100 bodies. Skeletons of 100 men.
Yep.
Because that's just what's there. You put women with men on a deserted island, and pretty soon you'll have a thriving.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm just glad that we're at the age we are. We don't have to worry about what the world's going to look like in 30 years, because I hope I'm not going to be here. Former FBI counterintelligence chief in New York, anyway, Charles McGonigal. I don't know how you exactly would pronounce that.
I think that's what it is. I've heard it said that way.
He was one of the guys in charge of investigating Trump during the Russian collusion hoax. Well, anyway, of course, that was proven to be false and something brought up by invented by the Hillary Clinton campaign. And by the way, I'm not suicidal, so if this gets out and something happens. So anyway, he was recently convicted and sentenced to 4 years in prison and fined $40,000. And guess what for? Guess what for? He was colluding with Russian oligarchs.
What? No.
Oh my gosh, it just doesn't
makes it easier to make up a story when you're actually doing what you're making up the story about.
Well, yeah, first-hand knowledge, of course. That makes completely
criminy.
Incredible. Did you see that Zelenskyy was in town last week?
And I see that he was in town.
You
mean with
on.
His hand out? Yeah. And it was his palms up, and it's like, you need to give more money. We're out the money, and I need to buy another house. So come on.
There's a guy with a scragglier beard than mine, and he had a sweatshirt on, so I knew immediately it was Zelenskyy. But anyway, he was definitely begging for more money. He did not speak in front of Congress. You noticed this? He was supposed to, right?
He was scheduled to. Yes, he was scheduled to speak in front of Congress, and the polls and whatever, and he was just being pummeled when he got here. He was hearing things too, and it's like, nobody wants to hear from you, pal. And especially a lot of people in Congress. There is a small little portion of them. I also was reading about Congress. This is the worst I have ever seen. Approval rating for a senator, we'll see if you can figure out who it might be, is 6%.
Oh, wow. Let's see. There's so many of them I would put in that category. Let me see.
Here, let me give you a hint.
Oh, you mean the guy from Kentucky? I can't think of his name.
Mitch
McConnell. Yeah.
Yes, very good. What I did, folks, was just blank stare at him. So he got it right quick with that. He is astute observation.
I wasn't sure if you meant Grandma Vodka or whatever. But she's probably down in that area, I would think. Anyway, the fun thing was that Zelenskyy was so hard up to get interviewed by somebody. He went to Fox News.
Why did Fox News?
I don't know.
Oh, wow. You mean CNN wouldn't even interview him?
I didn't see an interview. It's possible he was on there, but I didn't see it. But Brett Baer had talked to him, and this is what he had to say to Brett.
Spend all your money to the weapon, to the drones, to the society, to the pensions, and etc. And don't cry. Because
Don't cry.
you're leaders. And that's it. That's why we are, and that's why we stay, because mostly people are not crying. People stay and fight against Putin. And we don't have any enemies in our country. We can't have time for this. And we don't have it. We have only one enemy. This is Putin. And that's it.
But you'll stand from democracy going forward.
Yes, of course. And of course, because we are really defending democracy and we are really defending freedom.
If I'm Zelenskyy, I'm saying whatever I need to say. Yes, of
I got
course.
to lift the boot because it's getting full of what he was spewing. Good God.
Don't cry.
That's horrible. It's like, we don't have enemies. No, because you've put anybody that talks against the state in jail or execute them. I don't care what anybody says. They are the actual Nazi party in charge.
That's
currently.
Right. That's right.
And this, so I don't know. Who do you root for? Which communist do you want?
I was going to say, and they're totalitarian in a way because he's kind of outlawed any opposition party. He's taken over all the media within Ukraine. So I'm like, what part of totalitarian do you not understand? He doesn't know what democracy is any more than Putin does. I mean. Everybody wants to paint Putin as the bad guy. You listen to Corinne Jean-Pierre and she'll say, well, this is all Putin's war. The reason our gas prices are high. I'm like going, well, that's kind of circular reasoning. Everything's Putin's fault.
I
don't know.
And somebody was just speaking about that. Oh, you were talking about all the things in Ukraine. Why is it most of that stuff sounds familiar? Let's see. Propaganda from the media. I know they're doing that.
It does all sound
we're
familiar.
Prosecuting the opponent of. We're doing that too.
The elections are kind of rigged.
Oh, no, they're not. Oh, you mean that in your lovely state that they found just shy of 18,000 mail-in ballots that had no signatures, were not verified, but were counted.
Yep. And I think Biden only won the state by 11,000. So that would have flipped Georgia.
Yep.
There's
another state,
invalid.
Michigan's another huge one that they've been finding, and Wisconsin finding stuff that's the numbers just keep going up and up and up.
Yeah. And, the funny thing is that they just found that 17,000 whatever mail-in ballots that were invalid. But this was also the same week that they decided to punish the former mayor from New York. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. They're going to make him pay like $142 million. He doesn't have $142 million any more than I do. But I mean,
and it's been proven that what they're trying to prosecute him for, that's going to get dropped. He's going to. Well, they've re-sued him. Yeah. I don't know if that's what you can say, but they've sued him again. I don't know what it is. They're just trying. They're persecuting anybody who is against them. That's all it is.
And what they're getting him now is because he said something against a couple of electors in Fulton County that may or may not be even true, but it doesn't matter because, my life's been ruined because Rudy Giuliani said something nasty about me. I mean, it's like, I just don't, I guess civil suits are not prone to the double jeopardy part of every, because I guess you can get sued over and over and over for the same crime or the same supposed crime. But yeah, $142 million, I think it was. It's
like, no. And Zelenskyy goes, you can put that money in my account. Just move it over.
And don't cry. Don't cry.
Don't cry. Don't cry about it. Just give me money.
And
I don't have a multi-million-dollar house, a multi-million-dollar yacht.
Nope.
All of your oligarchs that are in the upper echelon of your party all seem to have been able to buy these million-dollar homes suddenly.
Isn't that crazy?
Why? How is that possible? You guys doing good, are you?
Some of them are. And I think this past week, Biden, I don't know whether he did it with executive order, but he went and got $100 million, he called it a drawdown from the DOD to give directly to Ukraine, which is like $100 million. And he could just do it with a swipe of a pen and it's done.
I thought I saw 200, but so I don't know where it was all coming from.
I thought it was, but it all came from our own defense budget. Which is just always a good idea. Why not just throw our defense budget down the toilet and support a country that nobody can find on a map? But anyway, whatever. I mean, it's just going to continue to get worse while Uncle Joe's in office. But anyway,
it's not improving. That's for sure.
Speaking of Uncle Joe, not long ago, Joe Rogan was interviewing The Rock on his show, and I love Joe Rogan. I don't agree with everything he says, but I love Joe. He asks the good questions and he gets a lot of good answers. He gets people to be honest. But anyway, he was interviewing The Rock. Now, neither of which are known to be conservatives, but there's evidence of common sense leaking into both of them. And and kind of like a good look, this conversation is kind of a good look at mainstream people that don't really pay attention to politics, but they hear enough to understand. Not fringe people on either side. But anyway, this is part of his conversation with The Rock.
When I was a kid, you could have a Republican friend. Like it was no big deal.
Yes.
It's no big deal. Like, oh, Bobby likes George Bush. Who cares? Who gives a f? You were a supporter of Bill Clinton. He liked George Bush. Nobody cared. Nobody like f you. You know, it wasn't like you're a Nazi. Like I'm a Nazi. I just want lower taxes.
What the f are you talking about?
How did I become a Nazi?
Dude, it's the craziest thing. I have friends who support Trump. I have friends who support Biden. I have friends.
Do you really have friends who support Biden?
I do.
Come on.
No. Here's what I do. I have friends. Thank you. That's a good check because that's important. This is important context.
They support the Democratic Party.
I have friends who are loyal to the party.
Yes.
No. He didn't support Biden.
Oh, hell no. I'm not supporting that loon. Are you kidding me?
I wonder if support for the party is starting to wane a little bit too.
Well, it is. I mean, we were talking about what it's done in Florida. It used to be pretty close to even up, and it's nowhere in the ballpark. No. It's almost 2-1 Republican to Democrat now. And Idaho, we were a little to the right. Not huge, but the mid 50s percent for Republican.
Yeah.
And now we're pushing 70% Republican for registering to vote and stuff.
You and Wyoming and Florida, they're all in the same category of as deep red as you can get. But yeah, I read a stat the other day that 65% of men polled say they vote Republican on an average basis. Normally, they vote straight ticket Republican. Which going back to our previous point as far as testosterone levels, maybe there is a little bit of hope because there's still. But it's like it's the white women in the suburbs that are kind of like throwing the whole thing off of the country. But for the most part, men of all colors, of all ethnicities, vote 65% Republican. So.
There was a gal was talking about that, and she goes, then take away my right to vote. If that's how it works, I don't care. It was like something like 80% of Democrats were women voters.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Yeah.
And she goes, so take away the women's vote. Woohoo. I'm okay with that. She goes, I mean, not that it's a preferred thing, but if that's what it takes for us to win something.
Well, if you look at a lot of these YouTube shorts and everything where somebody asks them about their political opinions, it's like it's the women that get really, really mad and will storm off and cuss you out. And it's like, what are you so mad about? It was just a question. So anyway.
You don't need to get cranky. It's okay, folks.
Exactly. Hey, we're up against another break. When we come back, we're going to listen to what true inflation numbers really look like under Uncle Joe. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Christmas time, it is Christmas time.
Ho, ho, ho! Nothing brings more Christmas joy than regifting last year's ugly decorative bread box.
Oh, I
Love it. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Join the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society to help light the night and bring hope. Light the Night is a nationwide event that brings communities together to honor, remember, and celebrate those who have been afflicted with blood cancers. Lift your lanterns high and help shine a path to a cancer-free future. Be a part of Light the Night and find your local event at lightthenight.org. Let's light up the night and make a difference together. That's lightthenight.org to get involved.
All right, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3 already. Holy cow! We are going to be talking a little bit more about Trump. We don't talk enough about Trump. Some people would say, and we don't talk hardly. We talk too much about him and maybe other people's opinions. But Tucker Carlson,
he exists, therefore he is.
Yeah, there you go. See, he's so much more educated than I am. I don't have all that I don't have all these good Julius Caesar quotes or whatever.
I'm just the smart.
The smart guy. Tucker Carlson was interviewed on Roseanne Barr's podcast, which I think I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I just recently knew that she had a podcast, and she's had some really great interviews on there. And anyway, she asked him about his support for Trump, and it was very interesting.
I mean, I've always agreed with Trump's policies, always. And I lost friends over it. And I've never really actively supported anybody because it's not my job to actively support people. I watch, I like to watch. But I'm a voyeur.
Yeah.
But I became an active Trump supporter when they raided Mar-a-Lago last summer, the summer of 2022. That can't stand.
No, that can't.
And
that was something.
Agree with Trump on a lot. But even if I disagreed with Trump on a lot, I'd still be a Trump supporter because you cannot allow that. You cannot allow the regime, the president of the United States, to use the Justice Department to knock the front runner out of the race. You can't do that.
No, you can't do that.
So it's bigger than Trump. It's bigger than Biden. It's a question of, do you want to live in a free country with a functioning justice system?
That's exactly
And
right.
so I'm voting for Trump. And if they convict him, I will send him the max donations and I will lead protests. That's how I feel.
That's how I feel.
Because, and by the way, if I thought that he had committed some real crime, I wouldn't feel that way, but he didn't. He and Biden are both found with classified documents at home, along with every other former high-level federal official in history. But only Trump is indicted? Tell me how that works. Oh, shut up.
And Biden is the one who did it illegally because he was never president when he did it.
Do you think Dick Cheney brought home any classified Iraq War documents and showed them to his wife in 2003? Yes is the answer.
Yes is the answer.
I love that because yes.
He called it the Biden regime, which I really think we were talking about Ukraine earlier. If this was happening in Ukraine or in one of the old Soviet Union countries, or even just any of those places over in Asia that are just kind of totalitarian, then I wouldn't be surprised. But it's happening in America, something I would have never guessed. So
good old third world countries on stuff, and it's and the Democrats, I talked a little bit about this last week, but the Democrats are going, but we're prosecuting him everywhere. Why are his numbers still going up? It's not supposed to work this way.
It's just not fair.
Give me a break. Stop your damn whining.
Send him a meat emoji and just let them melt down and self-destruct.
I love that. And they're not taking them off, and I don't know why.
I keep emailing them.
My feelings, I just can't take it
anymore.
They're
ignoring me. Jeez.
Give me a break. Jesus.
And as far as inflation goes, the consumer price index is kind of like they keep their finger on the pulse of all this stuff. And they ran some numbers here recently, and this is all from January 2021 when Biden took office to November last month. Overall inflation is up 17.2%. I heard it was more like 20, but this is what the consumer price index came up with. Food.
17's enough. Thank you very much.
Exactly. And this is all cumulative, which we have another clip talking about that too. But food that you buy at the grocery store, 20%. Eggs are up 24%, milk 17%, and housing is up 18.5%. 30%. I think locally, it's much higher than that because my son and his wife just bought a house, and it probably went up $100,000 in the last 3 years. So it's incredible how some pockets inflation has kind of taken over in different ways. But Marie Bartiromo, she's on Fox Business. She recently looked at the true inflation numbers since Comrade Uncle Joe has taken office. She also spoke with Congressman Andy Ogles about it also. And here's that interview.
The Wall Street Journal is releasing a new analysis on the housing market. It found that the average monthly new home payment skyrocketing since President Biden took office. In January of 2021, the price was just under $1,800 on average you're talking about the average monthly payment for a new home. While that same price today from $1,787 is now $3,322, $3,322. That is up more than $1,500 a month. Former President Trump recently put out this statement on Truth Social. Just 3 years ago, annual incomes went up by more than $6,000. The 30-year mortgage rate reached a record low. Under Biden, real incomes have gone down by $7,400 per family. Cumulative inflation is nearly 20% higher. Joining me right now is Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles. He's a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. That's sticker shock when you see those kinds of monthly payments. That's one of the reasons that people have walked away from mortgages, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're a working class family, if you're a family just trying to start out, you've seen prices driven up by, people moving out of blue cities, out of blue states into red states like Tennessee. I live in the Nashville area, so prices have gone up. But then interest rates, you have the burden of almost, if you could have gotten a 3% mortgage under Trump, now you're at 6.5% to 7.5% now. Everything about owning a home has skyrocketed, and you can thank the failed policies of President Biden.
Yep. He's got it exactly right. We bought our house.
Bidenomics is no nomics.
We bought our house in 2020, in early 2020, and we got a 30-year mortgage at 3%. I think it's 3.13, and that was VA because money was so cheap. I financed the soup out of it, and then of course 3 years later, my son and daughter-in-law bought a house, very similar in value it would have been back in 2019. They paid over almost $300,000 for their house. So I'm like, that's 30%. I mean, I'm not even a mathematician. I got that one. But I mean, that's actually 50%, is it not? If it went from 200 to 300, that's 50%. So it's incredible how just our area, especially, and I think Congressman Ogles said that when you have people moving from these depressed blue city, blue state areas into the red areas, of course, demand goes up and prices follow it. So
happened here. I bought this. We got this 3.5 acres. It's not a special house of any sort, that's for sure. It's rather small, but it works for us. And we paid $124,000 for it. Woohoo!
Yeah.
That was in 2006. Okay, the taxes are ridiculous because now it's worth almost just shy of. At one time, the highest peak was just under $500,000.
Wow! See, but all that.
It's like
land
my
is
daughter looked at me like, what? Yeah, it's because all of the dweebs from the state you live in have moved to ours, and with the housing costs what they were in California. They got cash in hand.
Yeah,
it's just really sad. I mean, somebody heard them talking in a grocery store line, and one lady said, "Yeah, we couldn't buy 2 of them with cash. We actually had to finance the second one. They said things were cheap here. Where's all of our free stuff at?"
I feel so bad.
One, there isn't free stuff, and no, you have bumped up the prices. Stupid. So
wow. But like, I'm surprised they're still getting top dollar for money or for houses out in California or on the West Coast.
They aren't finding people to buy them anymore because they're leaving.
Yeah.
And by the way, all those people that good old Greasy Gavin happened to say that it's just some people moving out. Yeah, but they're not being replaced and people aren't coming back and businesses have moved out. All of a sudden they're going, California's going to have a horrible shortfall because they can't tax people enough for those that are left.
That was brought up with the at the debate with him and DeSantis.
Yeah.
That, of course, I think Gavin Newsom was in the running for sales agent of the year for U-Haul in the state of California.
I love it. That was one of my favorite memes. Yeah. Going into California, you can get a U-Haul to go from like Texas to California really cheap.
Yeah.
Going the other way, it's about 3 times the cost.
Well, of course. Yeah. We'll pay you if you want to take it to California. So, yeah, California, well, I don't know. I do think that eventually, it may take a while, eventually the economies are going to collapse under those kind of governing attitudes. But,
It's done that all over the world with anybody that's tried a socialist.
Yeah.
None of them make it. That you can only use other people's money so long before there isn't other people to use the money of.
Yeah. Well, California's been running a deficit as far as the state government for a long time. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. Tennessee doesn't even have any income tax, and neither does Florida. Now we have 6% here in Georgia, but I think that we do not run a deficit. As a matter of fact, every year there's a bonus, there's a refund of taxes that they didn't have to use.
Same thing in Idaho.
Yeah.
It's been conservative, and I think we got 600 from just because they had too much taxes. Is what they're doing something about the property taxes this year. Finally, thank goodness, because they were getting to be ludicrous.
Barbara turned 65 last year, so we ended up getting the discount. There's a discount in the state of Georgia. Once you hit 65, they take all the school taxes away, which almost cuts it in half. So we're only paying $1,000 a year for our property taxes, which, we don't own as much property as you, so I'm sure that's nothing. But yeah, it's a great state to live in, and most here in the Southeast are like that. South Carolina, Tennessee, North Carolina it depends on where you live in North Carolina, but I've got friends in all these states, and they're all saying, things are not like what we're seeing in California in the news. So,
But
anyway, Epic TV. I know you're a subscriber to Epic.
Yes, I decided this year they had a real good special deal, and I went for that amount, and I find myself looking at it on a real regular basis now.
Oh, they've got some really good news stories, and I've had people send me different things. They've had to copy and paste it because you can't go on there and just look at it without being a subscriber. But they have a TV portion of their thing that they advertise, or they put a bunch of stuff on YouTube and on Instagram. They recently had a look at the net worth of the last 6 presidents, not counting Biden. And it leaves us with a lot of questions. Some of it was kind of surprising to me, but here that is.
Here's a list of the last 6 presidents comparing their net worth before and after their time in office. At number 6, you have Ronald Reagan, who was worth around $10 million before taking office and then about $15 million after. Next, you have George H.W. Bush, who was worth around $4 million before and then $23 million after. Then you have Bill Clinton, who came into office being worth around $1.3 million, but he left the White House with a stunning $241.5 million net worth. Next, you have George W. Bush, who came into office being worth around $24 million and then left office being worth around $40 million. Then you have Barack Obama, who was worth around $1.3 million before, and he left office with a net worth of around $70 million. And then lastly, you have Donald Trump, who came into office with a net worth of around $3.7 billion, but left with a net worth of around $2.5 billion. Now, let me ask you, out of all those presidents, why do you think President Trump was the only one to actually lose money while serving in the White House?
Because there were no envelopes passed under the table.
Because and that's what they don't like about him. They can't bribe him.
Yeah. Because
it's like, I don't care. Go ahead, whatever. No, that's not right.
Yep. Yeah, and even Reagan, who, he was kind of one of my political heroes. I don't have too many of those, but even he made quite a significant amount of money while he was in office. Which, I don't know. Maybe that was kind of crooked too. I don't know, but I'll call out a spade, no matter where it comes from. So I mean, and a lot of those were Republican presidents, gosh, I can't talk today. They were all Republicans, or a lot of them were Republicans, and so it's like if they were corrupt, I think they need to be investigated also. It's not just Biden. I don't have a beef against Biden. Biden is just his arrogant
If it's
attitude.
a crooked politician, I want him investigated.
Exactly.
I don't care if it's a rhino, a Republican, a Democrat. I don't care who it is.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm with you.
I think Mitch McConnell, as a matter of fact, should be looked at for the amount of money he has. He's got quite a bit of money too. So I guess we're up against another break. So let's do that, and we'll come back and we'll have a good palate cleanser at the end, and we'll talk a little bit more about getting invited to a party in Boston. It's not as easy as you might think. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Christmas time, it is Christmas time.
Ho, ho, ho! December 24th and all is bright. Yeah, because you're lit up like the Christmas tree.
Ready to party!
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha, 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 ha.
Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Hi, welcome back to final segment of Stay Off My Lawn.
Darn.
Steve is cheering in there, so I mean, we'll have.
Yeah, I saw him. Yeah. It's almost vacation time. Just take a chill pill.
He's so excitable. Gosh, yes, you're off. You got another 15 minutes. You put all this together, you're gonna be fine. The mayor of Boston, Michelle Wu. She sent an invitation to a holiday party for the city council members, which took place on the 13th of this month. And specifically, this is how it was worded. I cordially invite you and a guest to the elected of color holiday party. Apparently, this was not supposed to go to the white city council people. So,
but it did.
So really, it was just a technical error, and that white people got the invite, and that was just it's just the party went on as far as I know too. So I mean,
it did. They even have a picture in the whole shoot match.
Yeah.
She didn't give a crap what anybody thought. Nope. It's like, really, and I find it just funny as hell that you have an Asian saying only blacks can come, which
eliminates her.
Yeah. It's like, do you not see the irony in this? And aren't Asians supposedly the biggest prejudice against people, whatever? I mean, they can't get into Harvard because, they're too smart and they work too hard. We don't want them in here.
Exactly.
What? I don't get that.
I don't either. I'm with you 100%. But I think when you're committed to political correctness or to the woke crowd or whatever she is, I've heard some weird things come out of her mouth. But it's like, if you're committed to that stuff, I mean, you just say whatever it becomes a religion. So I mean, she that's why she doesn't care what anybody else thinks, and she still has her job.
That is just. It made me laugh. I'm going, well, maybe it's a black person that married an Asian and has the last name. And then I saw a picture and went,
no,
what the hell? Doesn't she see this and go, well, this is quite an irony of nope.
But that's the thing. It's like everybody's a person of color anymore. It's like, whether you're Mexican or from Afghanistan or from wherever, it's like everybody's a person of color except for, it just seems weird to me that everybody's being included to go against anybody who happens to be of European descent. I just don't understand why that's a thing. Why are we so hated? And like you said, we're not even the ones in society that are overachieving. It's the Asians that are the overachievers.
That is not on our list.
No, gosh. Especially not you and I specifically.
No.
But it's just funny how we've just kind of devolved into this, what we see today. It's just kind of weird. You know who Raven Simone is?
Yes. Yes. What the heck was the show?
That's So Raven, I think it was.
Yes, that's what it was.
I remember my son was in middle school. I think it was on quite a bit. Anyway, she's a former member of The View. She was only there a year, and I guess we're starting to understand why. Maybe she wasn't left wing enough. She wasn't sold out to the woke crowd or whatever. But she ticked a couple of boxes. I guess that was good enough for them. And then they're like, whoa, she's not who we thought she was. Anyway, she got.
They don't do research on that show. They say and push a lie on whatever they want to say.
Don't use the R word around here. It's The View, for goodness sake. No research. So she was being interviewed by Oprah, who apparently didn't do her research either.
No. And neither did her people.
And she was asked a couple of things, and she, I don't think Oprah even cared for her answers. But here's
Oprah chastised her.
She did. Here's part of that interview.
I'm tired of being labeled. I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm an American.
Oh, girl, don't set up this Twitter on fire.
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
My Lord. What did you just say? Stop the tape right now. Okay.
I will say this.
What?
I mean, I don't know where my roots go to. I don't know how far back they go. I can't go on, I don't know how far back, and I don't know what country in Africa I'm from. But I do know that my roots are in Louisiana. I'm an American. And that's a colorless person, because we're all people. I have lots of things running through my veins.
I mean, you're going to get a lot of flack for saying you're not African American. You know that, right?
I don't label myself.
Okay. So I want you to say what you really mean by that.
What I really mean by that is I'm an American. That's what I really mean.
Could she be more clear?
Oprah was trying to dig and push and shove her over the line to get her to say what she wanted, and she just flat went, no.
She's not going to take
I mean, you want me to put it into words so that you understand what I'm saying? I'm an American.
Yep.
And Oprah just looked at her like she had three heads sitting over there, and it was
Exactly.
Oprah didn't know what to say to her.
Well, some of the smartest people I've heard talk on in Congress or wherever on TV, they have the same attitude. We're Americans. We are people of all different color, all different backgrounds, all different types of parents or whatever. We got big noses, small noses, big feet, small feet, and different color skin. Why do we want to keep separating ourselves? I've always been blown away by that. I never understood. Why it's so important for us to segregate ourselves, because
when you start doing that, you're breaking up the country of people, and stop it. Just quit. It doesn't make any difference. And I like that when you're talking about breaking up nationalities, Indians finally all of a sudden started looking and went, whoa. We're pretty much non-existent all of a sudden. It's, you can't call that team that. It needs to be. Pretty soon, it's like there was never any tribes around anywhere. It's like, wait a minute. Somebody finally went, hey. So they're suing the NFL to get the Redskins back. They said it's not offensive to us. I don't know who was saying it was offensive, but it wasn't us.
Well, it's like any other group. You got these people that are offended by everything, and they're the ones that are most vocal, and they're the ones who are filing lawsuits, and they're the ones who are, writing letters to
they're not the ones that are part of the group that they're filing the lawsuits for. That's the thing that drives me nuts. It's like, shut up.
It's mostly suburban white women. Unfortunately, that's just the way it works. Anyway, I love that woman. I think she's fantastic. I think they ought to put a mic in front of her but unfortunately she's going to be she's
persecuted now.
Yeah, she's going to be put into the background. You're not going to hear from her much anymore because she doesn't follow that line of thinking, unfortunately. So, we do have a palate cleanser from our good friend here, Richard, about believing in Santa. Why don't, next week we have that special for Christmas. So let's talk a little bit about what that's going to be about. And then, because it will not be us talking about politics anymore. It's going to be about Christmas and about the holiday season and bringing everybody together. So like similar to what we did for Thanksgiving, but Richard, tell us about one of the programs we have lined up for next week.
We've got my friend Irma is a 30-minute radio show from 1950 that we essentially recreated, if you will. We had a script for that, and there were several different players in the group, and several people played more than one role. And it's just a heartwarming story of someone that's in New York at the time, that they're from Minnesota, and oh gee, nobody wants to come to my party that was planned at the last second. But everybody got together from all different nationalities. There's a Russian boy, Mr. Kropotkin, and then you have
Irma did a great Minnesota accent too. I thought that she. Oh no, I don't. Irma, the girl who played Irma. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. Mel Rose. Yeah, she's
Mel Rose,
fantastic. Yeah.
Everybody was great, and we had the Irish lady that was the tenant holder, but still got along with the tenants, and it was just a wonderful get together of all kinds of folks that were all just kind of for the same thing. Nobody's getting after anybody for being this nationality or that, and it's just a wonderful story to just enjoy. And there's some humor in it, and all the different stuff that happens in it. Some terrific people that help make it a really wonderful show, and it's all been edited and has the sound effects just like you were listening to a 1950s radio show.
Yep.
So we've got that. I'm going to do also a reading of 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. I've done that with all of my girls and grandkids for years, so I'll be doing that. And then you had some other stuff. What else? You had something else?
Yeah, I've got the Linus, in the Peanuts Christmas, where Linus talks about in Luke chapter 2, talk about the coming Messiah. That's really great.
The true meaning of Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't want to let that slide without having that in there. But yeah, I mean, the My Friend Irma things, especially, and you got to give credit to Al Gore in inventing the internet, because it was people from Idaho, from Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. We had all of us.
Canada.
Yeah, exactly. Canada. The one with the Irish accent was from Canada. It was just so fantastic, that whole conglomeration of things. It really turned out well. I can't wait until the next one. But we all have different beliefs and different attitudes, and man, we just kind of came together. It's really kind of a testament to how America is. You think about America and really how the church is. You've got people from all different backgrounds that can come together under one specific reason, and it's in the church, of course, it's about Jesus, and in our play, it was all about making that play the best it can be. And I think it's very heartwarming for the way America is today. So
yeah, I loved how it turned out. I've been fortunate enough to direct 2 of them, and everybody just loves being in them, and they all come with the right attitude of going to try to do the best we can, and they have just both turned out really wonderful. And then today we've got the palate cleanser. It didn't have a title, so I had to make one up. It's How I Came to Believe in Santa for a Lifetime. And it's just a wonderful story of, we all have had children, and they get to that certain age and they're starting to ask, well, this is a way to turn them into, in our household, we call them Santa's helper. And this is an example of that, if you will, from, it sounds like it's around the 1960s, somewhere in that range of small town America and the things to do. And there's a grandma involved and all that kind of stuff. So, anyway, it's just a wonderful story that my wife found and said, you should record this. She finds stuff and says, here, go do this. Okay.
Well, it turned out great.
After 48 years, I'm very dutiful. Okay.
Well, that's how you make 48 years.
That's right.
So enjoy this reading of Why I Still Believe in Santa, I think is what it's called. Is that correct? Yes.
How I Came to Believe in Santa for a Lifetime. How I Came to Believe in Santa for a Lifetime. Narrated by Richard Durrington. I remember tearing across town on my bike to visit Grandma on the day my brother dropped the bomb. There's no Santa Claus, he jeered. Even dummies know that. Well, my grandma was not the gushy kind, never had been. I fled to her that day because I knew she would be straight with me. I knew Grandma always told the truth, and I knew that the truth always went down a whole lot easier when swallowed with one of her world-famous cinnamon buns. I knew they were world famous because Grandma said so. It had to be true. Grandma was home and the buns were still warm. Between bites, I told her everything. She was ready for me. "No Santa Claus?" she snorted. "Ridiculous. Don't believe it. That rumor has been going around for years and it makes me mad, plain mad. Now, put on your coat and let's go." "Go? Go where, Grandma?" I asked. I hadn't even finished my second world-famous cinnamon bun. Where turned out to be Kirby's General Store, the one store in town that had a little bit of just about everything. As we walked through its door, Grandma handed me $10. That was a bundle in those days. "Now take this money," she said, "and buy something for someone who needs it. I'll wait for you in the car." Then she turned and walked out of Kirby's. I was only 8 years old. I'd often gone shopping with my mother, but never had I shopped for anything all by myself. The store seemed big and crowded, full of people scrambling to finish their Christmas shopping. For a few moments, I just stood there, confused, clutching that $10 bill, wondering what to buy and who on earth to buy it for. I thought of everybody I knew, my family, my friends, my neighbors, the kids at school, the people who went to my church. I was just about thought out when I suddenly thought of Bobby Decker. He was a kid with bad breath and messy hair, and he sat right behind me in Mrs. Pollock's second grade class. Bobby Decker didn't have a coat. I knew that because he never went outside to recess during the winter. His mother always wrote a note telling the teacher that he had a cough. But all we kids knew that Bobby Decker didn't have a cough. He didn't have a good coat. I fingered the $10 bill with growing excitement. I would buy Bobby Decker a coat. I settled on a red corduroy one that had a hood on it. It looked real warm, and he would like that. "Is this a present for someone?" the lady behind the counter asked kindly as I laid my $10 down. "Yes, ma'am," I replied shyly. "It's for Bobby." The nice lady smiled at me as I told her about how Bobby really needed a good winter coat. I didn't get any change, but she put the coat in a bag, smiled again, and wished me a Merry Christmas. That evening, Grandma helped me wrap the coat. A little tag fell out of the coat, and Grandma tucked it in her Bible. Then we used Christmas paper and ribbons and wrote "To Bobby from Santa Claus" on it. Grandma said that Santa always insisted on secrecy. Then she drove me over to Bobby Decker's house, explaining as we went that I was now, and forever officially, one of Santa's helpers. Grandma parked down the street from Bobby's house, and she and I crept noiselessly and hid in the bushes by his front walk. Then Grandma gave me a nudge. "All right, Santa Claus," she whispered, "get going." I took a deep breath and dashed for his front door, threw the present down on his step, pounded on his door, and flew back to the safety of the bushes and Grandma. Together we waited breathlessly in the darkness for the front door to open. Finally, it did, and there stood Bobby. 50 years haven't dimmed the thrill of those moments spent shivering beside my grandma in Bobby Decker's bushes. That night, I realized that those awful rumors about Santa Claus were just what Grandma said they were. Ridiculous. Santa was alive and well, and we were on his team. I still have the Bible with the coat tag tucked inside. 1995. May you always have love to share, health to spare, and friends that care. And may you always believe in the magic of Santa Claus.
That's really awesome. I love that. That is exactly the spirit of Christmas that we would hope everybody can have in their heart this year.
Yeah, do something for somebody who needs it.
Yep. And keep it to yourself. I can't reiterate that enough. If you do something nice for somebody, don't post it on social media. Just do it. You'll get your reward in heaven. Don't worry about that right now. But yeah, and I love this time of year, so that was perfect, and I appreciate you reading that, Richard. That's really good.
Well, thanks for playing that. That's one of those nice stories that I've not seen it anywhere. I have no idea where it came from or who wrote it, but bless them for doing so.
Yeah, until you sent it to me, I had never heard that before. That's very, very good. So anyway, next week we do have that special. So don't forget to tune in next Tuesday when we upload that. That's the day after Christmas. I will take a few minutes out of my day and post that up there. But My Friend Irma is fun. Everything we're going to put on there is going to be fun. That you'll enjoy it. You'll at least reminisce about the Linus and the Peanuts characters, and just so many good things. So anyway, we will see you again in 2024, live as it were. But so far this week, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget about our good old website where it's easy to find all of our past and present episodes at stayoffmylawn.us.
See you in 2024, folks.
Toodles! Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.